Blog Talk Radio.
Now, get up out your seats. Coming to the ring. Now, but I'm wondering if you can bring in with one win, no losses, undefeated in the streets, weighing in over 300 pounds. IHWE Radio. When the round bell is ringing in the ring, then I be singing. I'm here to get that crowd loud. I'm wondering if you can bring it. When the round bell is ringing in the ring, then I be singing, but I'm here to get that crowd loud. But I'm wondering if you can bring it. When the round bell is ringing in the ring, then I be singing. I'm here to get that crowd loud. But I'm wondering if you can bring it. When the round bell is ringing in the ring, then I be singing, but I'm here to get that crowd loud. But I'm wondering if you can bring it.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Central Standard Time, if you live in the great state of Texas, and if you are right here in California, where IHWE Professional Wrestling Radio emanates from, it is 6 p.m., bright and sunny and wonderful weather, and you are listening, as I said, to IHWE Professional Wrestling Radio. I'm your host, Michael McCurdy, the creator and author of Encyclopedia WCCW, and one half of the IHWE California team. Joining me, as always, here in the great state of California, wonderful Humboldt County, the redwood curtain, up amongst the trees, sitting somewhere in the Sousa Nation, somewhere. He's in a mansion, I think. My co-host tonight, Joe Sousa. Joe, how you doing tonight?
I am doing well, Mike. Couple of things. Very nice week over the weekend. Got to spend some time with some of my grandkids, which that's always a cool thing. And I just found out a few hours ago, and no, I'm not going to go into the Booker T thing because that could take a month of Sundays. For the sixth time, that's 6 people, I will become a grandpa, or as I like making reference to myself, as a grandpappy for the 6th time. My daughter Patty called me to let me know that she's pregnant, so we're off and running with grandkid number 6, so that's always really cool. And yes, people in the business do have a life. Imagine that. But anyway, wrestling-wise, not to switch gears or anything, this coming Sunday at the Humboldt County Fair in Ferndale, California, which is in our neck of the woods, at 5 o'clock bell time, there will be WPW Lucha Wrestling at the Humboldt County Fair. It's free. You just pay your admission to get in. And yours truly, me, I will be the guest ring announcer. So looking forward to seeing all of you there. It'll be a lot of fun. And Mike, I know you'll be there with me. It's going to be a lot of fun that day.
Oh, we've made all the Lucha Libre shows they've had. This will be the 3rd year in a row. They're definitely fun. The promoter's a good guy, and we just happened to luck out into working with him. So I'm looking forward. I'm sure I'll be doing something. Last year I recorded ring entrances, so, you know, it'll be a good time. And by the way, congratulations on, and hell with it, I'm going to do it. Hang on, let me get my little chalkboard out here so I can keep time, on being a six-time grandpappy. I think I got it. 6.
Well, thank you, sir. And unlike a Spinaroonie, I just did a Sousa-Rooney, but we'll talk about that later.
Ladies and gentlemen, a Sousa-Rooney means Joe just sat down. That's about all he's going to do. He don't spin. If he gets the bee in his shorts, he might jump around a little bit, but there's no spinning.
I won't tell you about my shorts then.
You keep your shorts to yourself. Thank you very much. This is a family show. We're PG.
Okay, let's get on with it now.
Definitely a busy week for IHWE Radio. Last week we talked about some of our upcoming guests, and now I can kind of give everybody a little bit better of a schedule, and believe me, we have a schedule of guests coming up. We are going to be joined by, as I said earlier, Ivan Koloff, subject of a documentary being set up on the Kickstarter campaign through Elbow Productions. He will be joining us next week. The debut edition of our Indie Wrestling Spotlight. Chance for one of the indie stars to come out, introduce himself, tell people a little bit about themselves, learn a little bit more about the guys that are out there, the Weekend Warriors. And, Weekend Warriors is about it anymore. It's Saturday, Sunday. Sometimes they work. There are a few times during the week. But, Weekend Warriors, usually the terminology. A chance for them to come out. People get to know them. Next week's Indie Spotlight will be on lovely young lady, Miss Dyslexia. She will be joining us. September 3rd, we're going to be joined by Brian Shields. He is the author of 30 Years of WrestleMania. He was also behind the WWE Encyclopedia as well as the WWE 50 book. September 10th, we're going to be joined by Chaz. Anybody who ever watched Global Wrestling or knows anything about the Texas wrestling scene, you'll know who Chaz is. We're going to talk about his career, highlights in Global Wrestling Federation, and we're going to talk about the infamous bungee cord match. If anybody has never seen the bungee cord match, look it up. You got to watch it once. I only say once. Just go watch it. September 17th, we will be joined by former NWA World Heavyweight Champion Tokyo Monster Kahagas. Will be joining us. Talk about his career, what he's doing now. Had a chance to meet him for the first time at CAC back in June, so looking forward to talking with him. September 24th, open date. Austin says he's got a surprise for us. He's got a guest lined up, so we'll see what's happening there. October 1st, no show. No show October 1st. We will be doing a live show September 28th from Old School Hustle, followed by a post-Old School Hustle show on September 28th. So October 1st, we will be taking our usual Wednesday night off because it is going to be my 42nd birthday, and I don't want to be sitting on the radio on my birthday. I want to go out and have people spoil me. Not that I don't love my fans and our listeners. It's my birthday. I'm taking the day off. And David's working me like a workhorse Sunday the 28th. So I'm going to be a little tired, a lot of traveling.
You mean government mule, don't you?
Government mule, workhorse. However, government mule is what Jim Ross. I don't want to do that. That's the whipping or something. However, Jim Ross used to put it, but I'm not going that route.
Okay. Yeah, IHWE, we're stacked.
Oh, definitely. Still got a few more. October 8th, we are going to be joined by a man who, honestly, once we introduce him, I'm just going to shut up for the rest of the show because he's not going to let me talk. We're going to be joined by the one and only, the original Mr. Wonderful Rock Riddle. If anybody listened to our live shows from the CAC reunion back in June, you'll remember Rock Riddle. Rock Riddle introduced himself, and signed himself off. We did nothing.
Consider this a night off.
I'm looking forward to talking to Rock Riddle. I look forward to him every year. And, I'm kind of hoping he might even dress up for the occasion because his suits are so bright you can hear him on the airwaves. They're amazing, ladies and gentlemen. You have to see it to believe it. You might actually be able to hear it.
Seeing him wrestle is a sight to behold. I'm not going to go into my age thing again, but, getting to see him wrestle down at the Cow Palace in San Francisco in the San Jose Civic Auditorium, this guy, Mr. Riddle, had the it factor. Arrogance, charisma, oh, my God. I mean, the fans hated his guts. So did I at the time.
I honestly, I've seen Rock wrestle at the CAC. I've seen a few matches from World Class, but he'll tell you in World Class, basically, he was there to make everyone else look good. He has actually stated that. So I'm actually kind of looking forward to hearing more about his wrestling career and highlights and everything because, like I said, I don't know much about the man other than the wonderful suits and definitely has a flair for the word. October 15th, we're going to be joined by Art Cruz, the Blonde Bomber. Art Cruz is wrestler back 60, 70 era. Definitely had a chance to meet him. He's a Cauliflower Alley Club honoree from, I believe, 2010. He just released a book, We Made Him Look Good. Just released in paperback. You can order that on Amazon.com for the lovely price of only $16.83. I know that because I'm looking at it right now, right here on the Amazon application, available through the Google Play Store or iPhone, however you may use to order your Amazon products. Cheap plug for Amazon, but I want people to go out and buy Art Cruz's book, We Made Him Look Good. You can also find The Grappler's Memoirs of a Masked Madman is also available on Amazon.com and through GrapplerBook.com. Both excellent books. Reading Grapplers right now. Had a chance to thumb through Art Cruz. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm a busy man. This is what I do. If I'm not hosting a radio show, I'm not working a full-time job, or chasing my children, I'm reading wrestling books, or trying the best I can. Deep breath. A lot of talking here, but I got a lot of stuff to get into. October 22nd.
I'm just letting you go.
Thank you. October 22nd, this was just signed, waiting for the final confirmation, but did talk to the publicist. We will be joined by Kevin Von Erich and his sons Ross and Marshall Von Erich 3G. They will be appearing November 1st back in the state of Texas. They will be wrestling, I believe it's the American Wolves. We'll find out more about that in October, but they will be joining us October 22nd. We had Kevin on the show back in February. Great interview. Kevin is a great guy to talk to. Looking forward to having him on again. And this time we have his son. Ross and Marshall, they did not join us on the last interview, so looking forward to that. October 29th, David Fuller, my boss, the man behind IHWE, I hope he's listening, has signed Del Wilkes to join us on the show. For those of you who may not recognize that name, you may know him as the Trooper from AWA. You may know him as the Patriot from Global, WCW, World Championship Wrestling. Sorry, got Texas on the brain. And the WWF, where he wrestled as the Patriot. He's going to be joining us. He's got a great story, wrestling career, and definitely has a tale to tell about life after wrestling and during wrestling. So he's going to be an excellent interview. November 5th. I think we're on November 5th. November 5th sounds good. We will be joined by none other than the manager of the Four Horsemen, Mr. James J. Dillon. Just signed that interview just about a week ago. Looking forward to having James on. We see him every year at the Cauliflower Alley Club reunion. He will be joining us November 5th.
He will have quite a few. Yes, he will have a few stories for the listeners and as well as for us. And the one story that really knocked us off our feet was the story with him and Luther Lindsay. And it was one of those moments where it was like a hush fell over the room, literally. I was called over, and JJ told the story to us, and it was just, you have to hear it. You just have to hear it. That's all I'm going to say.
Oh, I couldn't believe it when I heard that story. Luther Lindsay is someone who I follow their career a lot. If you don't know who Luther Lindsay is, ladies and gentlemen, go out, Google, Wikipedia, however you find your information, look up Luther Lindsay. You are going to read a story about an amazing wrestler. One of the great, trained by Stu Hart, great technical talent. Stu Hart absolutely loved Luther Lindsay. I have been told this by Bruce Hart, Ross Hart, has been confirmed. Luther Lindsay, an amazing wrestler. I shared a story that my father had about Luther back in March. I shared that story. So Luther Lindsay, definitely a name in the history books. J.J. Dillon was connected to a very sad moment in the career of Luther Lindsay, and I'm sure, yes, we will talk to him about that. And November 12th, you signed this one, so I'm going to let you tell everybody who will be joining us on November 12th.
Well, our guest on November 12th, very dear friend of ours, and he's been in the business for at least 20 years, I reckon. I don't have the papers in front of me, but the ref of the Northwest, Mark Watson. This man, he's refereed pretty much all the promotions up in Oregon, going back to the Kafori's Portland Wrestling, Frank Culbertson's Portland Wrestling, West Coast Wrestling Connection, quite a few big events up there in Lincoln City. He's refereed all the stars as went through the Oregon territory, and towards the tail end of the Don Owen era. We're talking Matt Bourne, Mike Miller, the Grappler, the list goes on, and that'll be a very interesting interview, from a referee's perspective, and all the road stories, and it'll just be quite a hoot to take a listen to. I'm looking forward to it. As a matter of fact, I'm looking forward to, every Wednesday night, all the guests we have, top-notch people, and J.J. Dillon, Ivan Koloff, just Kevin Von Erich, his boys. Lots of big stuff coming your way here on IHWE, and, you mentioned Old School Hustle on the 20th of September. That's kind of our WrestleMania because we're going to be a part of that. We're going to be doing the podcast there, and for the first time, ever, I believe, I will be calling a couple of matches on the podcast with you and Dave along there with me, so that's going to be quite a night. It's just IHWE Pro Wrestling Radio and TV. It just keeps getting better and better, and I have to emphasize, take a listen to us. Watch it tonight at 8 o'clock on YouTube. It'll knock your socks off. You'll have a good time.
IHWE is definitely having a stellar year in 2014, and from what I've heard from David, he's got big plans for 2015 as well. IHWE is definitely riding a wave of popularity, and in September, we will be having the road to Old School Hustle. Each week in September, we will be joined by IHWE stars to talk about Old School Hustle, Okay, I believe I'm back.
Yes, you are. I heard dead silence.
I guess Blog Talk thinks I'm talking too much, so they hung up on me. I'm not sure exactly what happened on that one. I apologize for that.
You paid the bill, right?
It will not happen again.
You paid the bill, right?
I'll have to talk to David about that. He's the one who handles the finances for this show at this point in time, but I believe the bill is paid, yes.
Okay.
Anyways, in the month of September, we will be joined by old IHWE stars to discuss Old School Hustle, their upcoming matches on that show, IHWE TV, and IHWE in general. We might even get a little bit of gossip about David Fuller himself. Might find out what kind of a man he is. I think he's a great guy. Haven't had a chance to meet him yet, but we might get a little dirt. Maybe do a little IHWE behind the ropes, or well, no, that wouldn't work because you can see the ropes. Inside the ropes. There we go. I don't know. Ladies and gentlemen, live radio. I just got cut off. I'm kind of winging it. But anyways, September, Road to Old School Hustle. Each week, IHWE Old School Hustle will be, a subject. So looking forward to all that. And yes, September 28th, Sendera Center, Fort Worth, Texas, Old School Hustle. Bell time at 5 p.m., doors open at 4 p.m. If you are a VIP ticket holder, the doors open at 3 p.m. for a meet and greet with IHWE stars as well as the guests of IHWE on that night. You can meet Jim Cornette, Stan Hansen, Barbara Goodish, Kyle O'Reilly, the Grappler, on behalf of IHWE California, Karen Merritt. You can even come over and meet Joe and I. If you want to come over, shake our hands, say, hey, love your show, or you guys suck. We don't care. Just come over and give us some attention. We're flying all the way from California, so, hey, it's nice to be recognized. Right, Joe?
Oh, yeah. And we will smile. And that was a lot. That was good, Mike. Very good. I like that.
We're only 15 minutes into the show, and I'm tired. I have said a lot. But I think I got everything in. I will reiterate a few things later. But I'm going to hand the microphone over to a member of the IHWE radio team, someone who can tell us a little bit about the history of this great sport. I'm bringing on everybody's favorite, yours and mine, Mr. Brian Westcott. Brian, how are you doing tonight?
Good to talk to you. Hope everyone is doing well. Just want to reiterate, September 19th in Sherman, Texas, our own IHWE heavyweight champion Matt Riviera will face for the National Wrestling Alliance World Heavyweight Championship, Rob Conway. Also announced recently, 20th, in Kingsport, Tennessee, NWA Smoky Mountain Wrestling will present, and they'll have a one-night 18 tournament to crown new NWA United States Tag Team Champions. Titles were vacated when the former champions, Lords of Chaos, Damian Wayne, and Lance Erickson decided to pursue singles careers. So we've got a tournament coming up. Announced from the tournament, NWA Smoky Mountain Tag Team Champions, the Heat Seekers, Elliot Russell and Sigmund, Air America, Gavin Daring and Skylar Cruz, the Illuminati's Chris Richards, and NWA World Junior Heavyweight Champion Chase Owens. So that should be a good one. But like I say, a lot has happened, and this week was no exception. August 20th day, About 19 years ago, we had a very unique event, which was the King of the Deathmatch tournament at Kawasaki Stadium in Kawasaki, Japan. Ooh. This is the one where Cactus Jack Mick Foley beat Terry Funk in the main event and suffered huge degree burns, and also kind of a rare match. I think Mick Foley faced Terry Gordy. Now, this was Terry Gordy after a plane trip. And Gordy went on one of these plane trips, medicated himself. Unfortunately, Gordy went into a coma for a week. And Gordy had to learn how to talk, how to walk, how to wrestle, how to drive a car. The Gordy of old that we all knew for the Fabulous Freebirds was dead and gone, and a new one took his place. Just real sad. But anyway, like I say, it was a huge show. Dan Severn defended the NWA World Heavyweight title against Tarzan Goto. I believe Gypsy Joe was even on the card. So, like I say, it was a big show. August 19th, yesterday, 4-year anniversary of the death of General Skandor Akbar. Of course, longtime professional wrestler, manager, leader of the stable of Devastation Incorporated, and even was a booker, matchmaker for the Global Wrestling Federation, the tail end after Joe Canacino and company left. August 18th, 21 years ago, we had the Clash of Champions in Daytona Beach, Florida. Highlights, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat won the WCW World Television Championship, defeating Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff. And for the WCW and NWA World Tag Team Champions, Arn Anderson and Paul Roma, the Four Horsemen, defeated stunning Steve Austin and substituting for an injured Brian Pillman at that time, Lord Steven Regal, to win the titles. So a lot of history happened this week. So any thoughts?
Well, Matt Riviera, by the time we get to Old School Hustle, we might be talking to potentially the new NWA World Heavyweight Champion. I mean, this is exciting stuff. He's getting a shot at the title.
Yeah, definitely. It'll be a real good match. It was exciting to see Rob Conway regain the title in Las Vegas in the Cauliflower Alley Club, and that was history making right there. So yeah, we could see history once again on September 19th.
That was a 4-star match. That match was just off the chart. Yeah, I've seen a few NWA World Title matches, but that one there ranks right up there. It was good. It was very good. So I surprised everybody in the audience at the reunion. Nobody saw it happening, but both boys very solid. I could go on for hours about it, but you know what else can you say? It was a very good match. Both boys pulled out all the stops.
Yeah, it was really a
very
good match.
There, Brian.
And
yes, I'm back.
Arbor Stark, of course. Yeah, he was all happy to see the belt go back to the United States. Of course, Vendetta Pro Wrestling, who were the hosts of the event, they became new members of the NWA. We want to wish them the best as well. So, yeah, looking forward to what will happen come September. Lots of exciting stuff.
Definitely waiting to see what happens September 19th. Could be interesting to see, maybe we might have a NWA title defense, but, we do know that Matt will be defending the IHWE title because, well, he is the IHWE Heavyweight Champion and will be at Old School Hustle on September 28th. I think I got my requisite plugs in for that for today. I'm just having a good day today. I don't know why. I'm in a good mood, kind of happy. For some reason, I find everything funny tonight. I'm quite not sure why. This should be an interesting show. But now we are being joined by our other member of the IHWE radio team, the phenomenal Austin James. Austin, how are you tonight?
I'm doing phenomenal, obviously. I mean, isn't that supposed to be the whole entire deal here? I can't say I'm good. I'm doing phenomenal.
Glad to have you on, man. I got a little worried. Didn't see your name on my list there for a second. I thought maybe you jumped ship. I was worried.
Yeah, a bit late today, but you know, everything that happened this week in the wrestling world, I think, in my opinion, I mean, I don't know if I should say that I didn't expect it to happen with a person like Brock Lesnar at SummerSlam. You kind of have to expect him to take over John Cena like he did. And I don't know if you guys were expecting that, but after seeing what he did to the Undertaker at WrestleMania 30 this past April, you know, I had no doubts that he was going to become the WWE champion at the end of the night.
I didn't see a 13-minute or 20-minute beating that John Cena took. I wasn't expecting that. In my opinion, you know, Super Cena, not a fan of John Cena. I'm going to let you guys know that. And no, we're not trying to promote WWE on our show every week, but I'm not a John Cena fan. I like the guy's work outside of the ring. He's a great, you know, spokesperson and all that for WWE. He does all the Make-A-Wish and all that. That's awesome. Inside the ring, I'm tired of Super Cena. But I was not expecting him to have his ass handed to him for 25 minutes by Brock Lesnar.
Literally.
So when your fans are chanting boring about 15 minutes into the show in your match, that's a problem. So, yes, Brock Lesnar is dominant, but I don't know. The fans seem to kind of lose interest after 20 minutes of John Cena being tossed around like a rag doll.
There's a reason for that. Because no one, and I was expecting this, I didn't see any urine, I didn't see any blood, and I really want to see the urine. I didn't see any of that. That's probably what they were expecting.
Well, there was no controversy in the bout. Like I said, you know, this is like 20, 30 years ago, you know, the Tri-WF, they would have their 1 hour of 20 one-minute squash matches, and this was like literally a 30-minute squash match. Cena probably had 3 or maybe 2 or 3 offensive moves, and that was it. There was no controversy, no blood, no nothing. I was surprised by the beatdown by that, but I will give props to John Cena, being the pro that he is, you know, doing that. Because normally, you know, in this business, it's all about ego and money, not in that order. And in Cena's case, he's had the reputation of being the first man in the locker room, being the last man out of the locker room. And, you know, and I hate to use this quote because they've been saying this almost like a punchline. What happened Sunday at SummerSlam was best for business.
Well, one thing and I don't know how you guys feel about this, but when we talk about best for business, the official WWE title is, I mean, there's no World Heavyweight title anymore, which I'm not, you know, I guess I have to roll with it now because there's not much I can do. You know, but now it's just the WWE title. It's not the WWE World Heavyweight Championship anymore because the World Heavyweight Championship has been, you know, combined and you know, linked to this. And I don't know how do you guys feel about that?
Well, I guess I could speak to that since I've been keeping track of this for quite a while. But like I say, and of course I asked Jim Ross about championships. It's like, unfortunately, nobody really cares anymore. It's just almost a prop. Like I say, back then, championships meant something. Like I say, next week's going to be a big week because we could talk about ECW, NWA, Double Cross, and there's been a lot of history when it comes to Double Crosses over the World Heavyweight Championship over the years. So, yeah, like I say, was happy to see what was best for business. But in some ways, it's kind of nice for kind of seeing at least some of the other championships kind of get some meaning here, and at least you can see it in other places. But yeah, they got to do what is best for business, and times have changed.
Well, what I meant by best for business was just you know, the match itself. Now, being that now that the championship is pretty much basically it's just a prop. It's, you know, I mean, that kind of, you know, it broke my heart. You know, now that's just known as the WWE Championship. Like I said, you know, I really enjoyed the business when the belt meant something. You know, you're the champion of your territory or what have you. As a little kid in the Medford Armory, when you see Jack Briscoe coming out with that NWA strap, that aura about not just him but the belt, you know, it was kind of like, oh, I was like, holy cow. And And it took something, and I'm very sad about that. But I was talking about the match itself. But you're right, though. The belt seems to be secondary, if not a punchline, and it shouldn't be that way. The title should be, it should be right up there. I mean, we're going back to San Martino, Rogers. My little inside joke: Ray Stevens for 6 days. We'll talk about that later. But it's sad, and I'm very disappointed with the status of the title.
And I think the World Heavyweight Championship created a lot of opportunity for people when they had the two titles for WWE, and the two biggest titles were the World Heavyweight Championship and the WWE Championship. Both, WWE Championship mostly defended on Raw, kind of revolving around the Raw brand, and the World Heavyweight Championship revolving around the SmackDown brand. That's how I liked it, because there was more things to look forward to when going into a pay-per-view. There's more, there's more build-up to things that. More options to look forward to when you're watching a show.
Oh, without a doubt. Go ahead.
The Raw World Heavyweight Championship, like I say, that goes back to 2002, and of course it came as a result of what had happened with WCW. But of course the WWE Championship, that goes all the way back to 1963, ever since the Worldwide Wrestling Federation was founded. Yeah, we started off with Buddy Rogers. San Martino, we could just go on and on and on. It has a long history.
I'm standing by here we're having some technical difficulties tonight on my end, unfortunately. I'm refreshing my studio here, and it does look like, yes, our guest for today is joining us. I hate to cut the SummerSlam conversation short. Might bring it up a little bit here at the end of the show. But we do have our guest on tonight. He was a head trainer at Texas Wrestling Academy, which is founded by Shawn Michaels. I believe now he is the sole operator of the Texas Wrestling Academy. And tonight we welcome Rudy Boy Gonzalez to our show. Rudy, are you there?
I'm here.
How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing good. You guys hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Great. Okay,
nice to
good.
finally talk with you, Rudy Boy. I'm one of your friends on Facebook.
And who might you be?
Brian Westcott from Meridian, Idaho.
Gotcha. Okay. I'm going to do a Facebook cleansing probably the next couple of days, so I'll remember your name, so I won't take you off.
Maybe we won't be friends with Rudy Boy after a couple of days. We'll see how this interview goes.
What are we going to talk about tonight?
We're going to talk about wrestling in general, man, but I'm going to hand the reins over tonight to Austin, who helped book this interview and all that, and we're going to let him kind of start off with the opening question.
Okay.
Definitely. Rudy Boy, and we've talked to you before, and you had your actual inspiration to get into professional wrestling. You didn't actually have an inspiration as a beginning, at least, to get into professional wrestling. You were more interested in being a coach for football, I believe. So how did that come about where you actually started to get into wrestling and making that transition from the football field to the squared circle?
Well, I was actually going to college to be a football coach, and during my Christmas break, in December, I had happened to go by and hang out with my high school coach, and he asked me, what I was doing for training wise, and I didn't. Back in 1980, whatever, there wasn't like 15 Gold's Gyms and 10 Planet Fitnesses around town. There was a place called Powerhouse Gym that was ran by a guy named his name slips my mind, but I went there once or twice, but it was like a bodybuilder place. I mean, those guys trained hard, and that wasn't me. So my coach said, well, go visit my friend. His name is Joe Blanchard. He has as a matter of fact, he's starting a wrestling school, and he has a wrestling promotion. And he said, I'm not telling you to get into pro wrestling, nothing like that, but you can train with the guys. Some of the guys, I'm sure, that trained there used to play pro football, like Wahoo McDaniel, and he mentioned like Ivan Putski, and Tully Blanchard was like a guy that I looked up to when I was growing up because he was a quarterback here in San Antonio. He was like a big time, he was going to Churchill High School, which was like one of the big schools here. And So I was like, shoot, that's where I'll go. So to make a long story short, I trained with the guys. I was only supposed to be there for a couple of weeks. I ended up helping a guy named Juan Reynoso with the ring right before I was supposed to go back to school. And I can't tell you exactly what it was, but I got hooked. And, I was supposed to go back Sunday. And Thursday night, Juan asked me to go to Corpus Christi to help him with the ring, and I did. And I decided, Sunday not to go back. I did Thursday in Corpus, Friday like in Laredo, Texas. Saturday was Austin. Sunday was San Antonio, and I put the ring up. And then like at all the shows, I stood in the back of the building at one of the back doors to make sure nobody snuck in and stuff like that. And Sunday I was supposed to go back to school with the guys that my buddies and stuff, and I didn't go back. And Monday I walked in the office and told Joe Blanchard, I want to learn the wrestling business. I didn't tell him I wanted to be a wrestler. I told him I wanted to learn the wrestling business. And I'm not going to lie, he jumped on me, he yelled at me. He was good friends with my football coach, so he knew what I was there for. And so he saw this dumb kid, that was starstruck, I guess, and he chewed me out for a good few minutes. And, he's like, are you sure this is what you want to do? After he laid, everything out for me. And I said, yeah. And he said, all right, Monday nights was TV, and so the building that we trained in was, it was a lot smaller version of the Sportatorium. It smelled of beer and smoke, and we trained. That's where we trained also. And so for whatever reason, we trained that week, but no one ever mopped up or anything. So the place was filthy Monday afternoon. And I went and mopped up and started. That was actually my second wrestling job, was mopping up the building. And guys started coming in like around 2 o'clock or so to do promos. We did promos from like 2 o'clock in the afternoon till 4 or 5, and then they did the TV show, and that was it. That's how I got in. And when my parents found out, obviously I got kicked out. It wasn't like, get out of my house. It was my dad, asked me after a couple of weeks, why are you still here? And I told him, well, I'm now working for the wrestling company. And he said, okay, well, if that's what you want to do, then you had a full ride. You had a 2-year scholarship to for free schooling. If that's what you want to do, all right, you're going to have to support yourself. And so, it was. I just had this conversation the other day with somebody. If that's where I got the attitude, and it was just reinforced by guys like Manny Fernandez. If you're in, you're all in. And so I said, all right. So I learned the business as much as I could from Joe Blanchard, and I ended up wrestling. And the way things are, and anyone that's been around this business knows things come full circle. So an opportunity came about in 1999 with Sean. He was opening his wrestling school, and he asked me if I wanted to help train guys. And sure, I'll do that. And it was me and Jose Lothario and Ken Johnson. And within a matter of a couple of months or so, they were gone, and I was the only one there. So I ran the school by myself. And then when Sean decided to sign full time back with WWE, he gave me the school, and I just kept it going. And it's what I wanted to do in the first place, was coach, and teach guys. And I feel like I do a pretty good job at it, But it's not football. And as it turns out, I don't think I'd want to. I don't know. It's half empty, half full glass. I don't think I'd want to teach. I'd want to coach guys in football right now. It's a dangerous sport. There's concussions and stuff like that, and I don't know. I would kind of ease up on guys tackling, and I don't know. I'm glad I'm glad where I'm at right now. Let me put it that way.
And you said that you did a pretty good job. Now, I don't know, you're giving yourself enough credit, because one of the guys you actually trained is Daniel Bryan.
Yeah, well, okay, let me just clarify something. A lot of guys are like, when I talk to people, they're, you did a great job with Bryan Danielson. Well, when we did Sean's school and when I do my school, all we teach are the basics, the fundamentals, the etiquette stuff, taking falls and, psychology and stuff like that. The other stuff, Brian learned on his own. He, and Brian Kendrick and Paul London and those guys, they learned on their own. There's a whole big world out there besides the fundamentals and grabbing a head and, telling stories. There's elaborate stories you can tell in the ring, but that just comes with experience. And so, those guys, when they got their developmental deals and they got, they went to Japan and they traveled Ring of Honor and all this other stuff, they learned a lot of stuff out there, So, I mean, I do tell guys, yeah, I trained this guy, whatever, but, I mean, when it gets down to the nitty-gritty and stuff, I see Brian on TV, I'm like, somebody will message me, oh, my God, that was a great move he did. I didn't teach him, whatever it was. I didn't teach him that. He learned that on his own,
And you actually, beforehand, you were actually saying how starting out, I don't know how far into professional wrestling that you were working into, the professional wrestling business until they've thrown you in as a referee, which was an unforgettable night for you.
My first referee job?
Yes.
That was, that's back in the day. Older guys that are listening to this can relate, but and other guys like today that are getting in now, they have no idea what I'm talking about. But back in the day, there was a process that you went through when you got into business. You started off by doing all the the crappy jobs, mopping the junction up, or setting up the ring, running errands for guys, and so that's what I was doing. And Joe saw that I was working hard, and all the guys saw that I was working hard at whatever. And so Joe told me one day, he said, go to the sporting goods store and get a referee shirt. Get a pair of black slacks and a pair of, black or white. Get a pair of black or white high tops, whatever. And back in the day, Michael Jordan, Air Jordans was just coming around, so those were some expensive shoes, like $50 or something, So that's what I got, and no one told me anything about the wrestling part, the ring stuff. So all I was told was you're going to go out there and referee the first two matches. I refereed the first match. I honestly can't remember who it was. I can't, it was like that for about a couple of months where, I didn't know what I didn't know what I was doing. I knew the counts. I knew that the guy was on the mat for 3 seconds, then 1, 2, 3. I knew pulling the hair and stuff, but I mean, the first couple of matches back then were just simple matches. Just usually ended up with roll-ups or small packages or simple stuff, nothing elaborate. And that's what, and I'd hear guys talk in the ring, and I'd be like, hey, hey, Grenade Boyer, you give up? And I could hear him like, all right, I'm gonna yada yada. And I'm like, you give? What do you say? And then someone would say, shut up, back away, or they were trying not to smart me up, which I had no idea. Whenever I'd walk in the dressing room, all I ever heard was kayfabe for like a long time, and I was like, who is that? I had no idea. And then it wasn't until like, refereeing for a few months or so, then I got moved up to like what ended up happening was, I'd refereed my matches, and then like Eric Embry said, don't go anywhere, we're going to need you, for the next couple of matches or something. And I was like, all right, and so then, I don't remember who it was. Two guys were wrestling, and then Eric Embry said, okay, stay next to me. When I tell you to go out there, you're going to tell the referee that, so-and-so's feet were on the ropes, and then just get out of the ring. And I was like, all right. So, the match is going on. It was like, I don't know, Ken Timms against Bobby Fulton or somebody. I don't know. And then, Ken Timms' feet were on the ropes, and Bobby Fulton gets pinned 1, 2, 3. And then Eric says, go, 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 run, 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 run. So I haul ass, to the ring, and I get in there, and this guy named, I think it was George Stevens is in the ring. And I'm like, George, his feet were on the ropes. And George is like, what? His feet were on the ropes. And George says, all right, get out of the ring. So I get out of the ring, and then, George Stevens says, continue the match, or whatever. And then the whole place pops, and Ken Timms is yelling at me from the ring, you stupid punk, what are you doing? And I'm like, and I almost said, I was supposed to tell, Eric Embry said for me to whatever. But I was like, what? And he's like, what are you doing? And then Bobby Fulton rolls him up. And then, he gets kind of 1, 2, 3, and Ken Timms gets pinned, and Bobby Fulton jumps up. And, he rolls out of the ring, gives me a high five, and the place erupts. And that was my first taste of being part of of an actual finish, And so then the next day or whatever, Eric Embry started explaining stuff, and Luke Williams was really good at that. And, they started explaining, Al Perez was, they explained different things to me and, whatever. And so I slowly started getting smartened up to the wrestling stuff.
Obviously, you're talking about SCW, which, of course, was owned by Joe Blanchard at that time, San Antonio. I am curious, though, did you ever get a chance to meet the late Gino Hernandez when Hernandez was there before he went to World Class?
Yeah, Gino was here for a little while when I first got in. Very nice guy. Obviously, the wrestling crew is a tight-knit group, so here's this new guy, and I just helps at the ring up. I'm sitting at one of the chairs, and Gino walks up, and he checks the ropes. He shakes him or whatever. He's with, I think, Dick Slater or somebody. I don't remember who he was with. And he was like, who are you? And I'm like, Rudy. He goes, who put the ring up? And I go, I did. And he said, good. Who are you with? And I'm like, I'm with Juan Reynosa, or whoever I was with. He goes, good. He said something like, did you like it or something? Yeah, I guess so. I didn't, completely opposite of what you saw in the ring. And every time, and I had a few conversations with him, before he left. And O was very nice. O was, I refereed a match for him in Houston. We used to go on Fridays and referee matches for Paul Bosch, and the guy you saw on TV and the guy you saw in the ring was opposite of who I conversed with.
How did you react to eventually moving on to World Class, and then, of course, unfortunately, we lost him in January, February 1986 at the age of 29 from cocaine. What are your thoughts on that?
That was one of my first experiences of death in the wrestling business, and it was a guy that I knew. So I was kind of like in shock, I know that guy, and it just took me back, and immediately I thought of conversations I had with him, and then right when that came out, when he passed away, then stories and rumors started popping up about different things or whatever, and I was confused. It's hard to put my finger on it. It's just I knew that guy. What happened to him? Why did it happen? And then whenever Super Bowl time comes around, because that's when it happened, right around Super Bowl of that year. I think Chicago. That was the year Chicago won the Super Bowl or something. I always think of Gino. Always, whenever I go to Houston, I always think of Gino Hernandez. When guys bring up, tag team, whatever, who are the greatest tag team wrestlers, I always put the Road Warriors. I'll put Tully and Gino, and then whenever I put Tully and Gino, because I know the dynamic duo as being Tully Blanchard and Gino Hernandez. Right. And in my opinion, that was a better tag team than Gino Hernandez and Chris Adams. Knowing what I know now, I think that was a better tag team than Chris Adams and Gino.
Were you ever at the show that they had? And I think now Tully and Gino had split up, and they were facing each other in a main event. It was a huge show, and I think Paul Bosch hosted it in Houston. And I think there was also a heavyweight championship match involving the late Adrian Adonis. Lou Fez was there. Just a big deal at that time.
Yeah, that was supposed to have been the unification of the, or that was supposed to have been the creation of another world championship. I wasn't too
Right.
much in the know at that time, but yeah, they did bring in Adrian Adonis, and I want to say he wrestled Terry Funk. I don't know, man, that's not right. But yeah, I was there for that show. That was a long time ago. Wow.
Speaking of legendary people that you've had the opportunity to be around, you actually had the honor, I guess, to drive around Bobby Heenan and I can't remember exactly who was with you in the car. You said something about going to a diner after a show, and you tell the story. I know it was you and Bobby Heenan and somebody else.
Nick Bockwinkel.
Nick Bockwinkel.
Yeah, I mean, again, when I came in this wrestling business, I didn't. My dad took me to a wrestling show when I was like 9 or 10 years old, and I remember there was Wahoo McDaniel, I met him when I worked for Joe, and I was in awe of him. Red Bastien, who I met years later, like around the 90s or so, and great man, great. I mean, he treated me really nice. Thunderbolt Patterson, and I wasn't interested in wrestling. I just, when I turned 18 or 19 or whatever, I didn't know, I knew Telly from football, but, I didn't know really who Tiger Conway was. And so I was there at the office doing some stuff. I think I had to paint the ring or something dumb, just whatever they'd be doing. And Joe was there with Nick Bockwinkel and Bobby Heenan. And so, I came in the office. I'm like, hey, Mr. Blanchard, I just painted the ring, whatever, And he was like, good. And Bobby and Nick were talking, but then when I walked into the office, they stopped. And so Joe said something like, all right, well, we're going to go grab something to eat. Are you hungry? And Joe invited me. He's like, do you want to take a ride with us? And I was like, sure. So, again, I didn't know Nick Bockwinkel. I didn't know Bobby Heenan. These guys had blonde hair, and Nick's acting like a prick. I mean, I didn't know. And so we went to this steak restaurant called the Stuart Anderson Cattle Company. I remember that. And I mean, plates are like $20 for a piece of meat or something. It's just crazy steakhouse. And they sat there and they talked business. And I had no clue what they were talking about. They were, years later, or a couple of years later, whatever, I realized, shit, that's Bobby Heenan. When Bobby Heenan came on WWF TV, I'm like, oh, I know that dude. And then, now people talk about great managers and what have you, or greatest manager ever, and Bobby Heenan's name pops up. It's like, shit, I had lunch with that dude. What the, Nick Bockwinkel, one of the greatest world champions of all time of the AWA, and I'm like, I ate with those guys. What the hell, But back then, I had no idea. I had no clue.
Now, actually, going on forward for your San Antonio, I think it's just in San Antonio, you're wrestling your wrestling training facility in San Antonio. How can they get in contact with you, or where's the website in order to go to sign up for this, or get in contact with you in order to get signed up for your wrestling facility?
They can call me at 210-326-1520. They can email me at TexasWrestlingAcademy_SA@yahoo.com, or the website that we're using is texaswrestling.wordpress.com. And all the information is there. I mean, if anybody wants to call me, and I don't, I'm not knocking anybody in particular. I'm just saying I'm not the guy that, well, I can't tell you nothing, kid. If you want information about the wrestling business, I'll tell you as much as I can. A lot of it, though, is you have to be here to watch. Guys call me all. As a matter of fact, I just had a guy that he called and asked all these questions or whatever, and he came and he paid his money and stuff, and then he came here for a week and then he quit. And I'm like, wow. Dude, why'd you pay? Yeah, I'm like, why? He goes, I didn't think it was that hard. Well, I mean, what do you think? What were you expecting? I told you months ago it's a lot of cardio. And the funny thing was he hadn't even started doing bumps yet. It was just cardio and rolls and and skip rope and just cardio stuff. And he was like, it's so hard, it's so difficult, it's so. I'm like, God, what were you expecting? So guys can call me at any time or contact me or ask questions. I'm not, I'd rather tell a guy the way it is, and then he makes that decision. Then, hey, Austin, man, this is a great school for you. I can tell just by listening to your voice, you're the next big thing, and then you come down here and you're screwed. Mm-hmm. And that's not me. That's not me at all.
Yeah, and people, and I was actually speaking to Raymond Rowe, it was like last night, and he was saying that professional wrestling, in his opinion, it's only should be for athletes instead of fans wanting to do it and then actually getting into it and expecting something less. Yeah,
and I kind of agree. I do agree with them. I mean, but there are some people out there that can't contribute. And it depends on how you look at it. There's some guys that have never been athletics before, but can draw money. That's the bottom line of everything, is drawing money. And then there's some guys that are athletic as, whatever, and they can't draw a dime, and they're dumb as a bag of nails, So, you just got to sort through the guys out there and see what's out there and what'll work and what doesn't work.
Now, if you can name, I don't know if this is right to even say, but if you can name somebody from your school that you think people should keep their eye on, is there anybody you would recommend?
I can name a bunch of guys. It's just how far they want to take this. But I have James Claxton. He's right now doing a lot of stuff around here in Texas. There's Brett Thunder, who's in Florida. He's moving back to Texas. There's Jacob Kilgore. I have a guy right now named Terrell Tempo. Very athletic, has a lot of fire about him. There's so many guys out there. It's Mike Dill. Mike Dill, I didn't actually train him. I help him every now and then, with some stuff. He'll ask, hey, what do you think about whatever? He's another guy out there that, it's just a matter of just pushing that envelope just a little bit harder, for them to make that jump.
Now, one of the guys you trained, yes, I'm actually still here. I thought I'd join in on the conversation. One of the guys you trained was Lance Cade, and I mentioned last week that we lost him back, I believe, Brian might be able to tell me this, in 2010.
Yeah.
August 13th.
Right.
Yeah. I was a fan of Lance Cade. I don't think really he caught on as well as he could have when he was in the WWE. I thought his tag team with Trevor Murdoch was great. What are your thoughts on, Lance? You trained him obviously, but what were your thoughts on him, and what could he have been? Where did I just don't think he used him correctly.
I don't know. Well, I'll start by saying Lance was on the road to main eventing events. He was on the road to being one of those guys, not being that guy, but one of those guys. You know what I mean? They were, as far as they weren't using him right or whatever. I don't know how you could say, and I don't get when people say that, because he's with Trevor. They're tag team champions. They were with all the, they did programs with all the guys or whatever. They were getting, they're winning matches. They split them up, and they were pushing Lance. And, not everybody can be the star quarterback of the team. You got to have the backup quarterback, and you got to have the third string quarterback. There's guys that you got to groom, and that's what they were doing with Lance, just kind of grooming him, just kind of, Shawn, we'll say Shawn Michaels. He was with the Rockers for a long time, and then they split up, and then he was like the Intercontinental guy for a while, and then he slowly moved up into the main event status. And that's really the proper way to go about, putting a guy over, is gradually, and you may say, us as fans, I'll put myself in that group. Us as fans may say, oh my God, that guy's so good, that guy's so great. But they have, the office has plans for him, and they want to create some kind of background for him, some kind of story with him. They don't want to just, bring him in and then, next Monday night he's on Raw with, John Cena. They want to, you got to go down that path before you become the main guy. And so I saw with Lance, that's what they were doing. They were just leading them down that path. And then right there, towards the end there, I think they were teaming him up with Jericho, weren't they?
I'm not too sure. I can't remember exactly.
I remember before he got released, because he ended up getting released, I think they were teaming up with Jericho, and the rumor was it was going to be Chris Jericho with somebody, and then Lance was going to be with somebody. I think like in the next pay-per-view with a WrestleMania, whatever was coming up. And so I know because we talked about this stuff. I know they had plans for Lance. Unfortunately, he hit some bumps here and there, and then he got released, and then he passed away.
Now, I think one of the number one things people want to actually hear about is really interesting is how Shawn Michaels was working alongside you. Like, if people don't know, when he left the WWE for his back, he was there every single day training with the guys alongside you at the academy.
Shawn was there every day. Working with Shawn was an experience. I don't have anything negative to say about. I mean, what can I say? I mean, it was I wasn't there as a wrestling fan. I was there as when we ran that school, we ran it very seriously. There was no jacking around. It was like if we were training the Dallas Cowboys. I mean, we were running a legit school. And Shawn had just came off surgery, so his back was kind of jacked still. He got in the ring when he could, and he did some stuff. He did some stuff when he could. He did a lot of training. He did a lot of the quote unquote training from outside the ring, and I was the guy that was taking all the bumps and all the hands on stuff. But I mean, don't get me wrong. Me and Shawn bumped heads on some stuff, but we always figured out a way to, this is the way I think it should be done. No, this is the way I should be done. This is the way. And then Shawn would throw, whose picture is that up on the banner? All right, you win. No. I mean, it's not, but you do that just to break the tension. But, I think I think we complemented each other very well simply because he was a superstar guy, and I wasn't. But I knew my position. I didn't try and I didn't try and I know more than you or nothing, anything like that. And he never tried to, main event me, I guess you could say. We like I said, we did have our differences, but we always found a way to figure out whatever the issue was, and then just move on. Just, move on. I mean, it was, and I'm not saying this as a Shawn Michaels fan. I'm saying it as he was great to work with. He was, I can't say enough good things about working at that. The time I had at the Shawn Michaels Wrestling Academy was 2 of the best years of my whole career, and I sincerely mean that.
Now, from a trainer's perspective, who are some of the guys out there now that you see as the future that can be the main event?
Talent, you mean?
Yeah.
James Claxton, Ray Rowe, when he comes back from his injury. ACH is a small guy, but he's very entertaining.
Oh my God, yeah.
So I can't. And this may be confusing, but ACH is so good that it's not even real. But yet
he's like air.
He's smooth. He's just and you see him and you forget that my view of of a wrestling match is a fight, and you forget that that's what it's supposed to be. Because when you're in a fight, you don't dive on the guy doing a triple flip and a twist and whatever in the middle of the air and then knock him down and then still land on your feet. You know, you don't do stuff like that. You know, and then not even be out of breath. You know, he's just so smooth. Houston Carson's one of the guys that's moving up. I think with a little bit more maturity, and just being a solid type of guy. I think he could, you know, he's on that road. Mike Dell is another one. Let's see, who else is out there? Those are the main guys, really. I think I saw Keith Lee not too long. Well, I saw him Saturday, and I hadn't seen him in the ring in a while. But Keith Lee is like a throwback guy. He's a big, solid dude, and he's just a mean guy when he gets in the ring. And I mean, I could see him, you know. And I'm thinking, like, if this was 1984 still, you know, going back a little bit, I see Keith Lee being like a main event type guy as well.
Yeah, I just watched the Ring of Honor pay-per-view they had about a month or so ago. I haven't seen a lot of Ring of Honor, and the one guy that got my attention that I left that pay-per-view thinking, wow, that was amazing, was ACH. So I've taken a lot of time to look up more stuff of his on the internet and all that. And, yeah, ACH, if anybody hasn't seen him who's listening to our show, you need to check this guy out. The guy is, like you said, he's fluid. It's from one move to the next. There's no... It's all, he pieces it together well. There's no starts or anything like that. The guy's amazing in the ring. I was just floored by what I saw when I saw him that first time.
He puts his matches together too well, you know. But I mean, and the other part to him also is he has this great attitude. He has this unbelievable attitude. He's not cocky. I guess in his own way he is, but he's still very humble. A good kid. I like talking to him. I like watching his matches. You know, he'll come up to me and, hey, well, you know, why are you asking me, dude? I'm not the Ring of Honor guy. I'm, you know, 100 years old. I want your opinion. It was great. You know, that's all I can tell you. It was great. You know, I mean, what do you want me to tell you? Sweat more? I don't know. I mean, great attitude. Good kid.
And I have one guy that, I mean, personally, I think is probably, in my opinion, like maybe the best wrestler I think in the world today, is Kyle O'Reilly, who's actually going to be at Old School Hustle September 28th. I'm not sure. I think September 28th. But Kyle O'Reilly...
September 28th in Fort Worth, Texas.
Yeah. Yeah, Kyle O'Reilly's amazing.
I haven't seen him, but I'm going to look him up tonight when we get off here.
Now, do you keep in touch with your past students, you know, Daniel Bryan, Paul London? Do you keep in touch with any of them?
All the I mean, all the time. I mean, I'll talk to, like, Paul is one of my trainers here. I should have threw that plug in. Paul's one of my trainers here at the TWA now, and he brings a group of guys down from Austin, and you know, we share. Again, this is kind of like the Shawn Michaels, Rudy Gonzalez tandem. Paul's the WWE guy, and I'm the older guy now, and I'm the guy that keeps everything, you know, on the ground. I talk whenever I do the stuff with WWE, they come through. I always see Bryan Danielson. A while back, he was talking to Pat Patterson, and I was walking down the hall, and they were talking. I don't know what about. You know, it could have been business. It could have been, you know, what they're going to have for lunch. I don't know. But then I didn't want to bother him, so I kind of like tried to sneak around him. And he saw me. He was like, "Oh my God, Rudy, what are you doing here?" I'm like, well, we're in Texas, so that's where I live. And he's like, "Pat, this is the guy that trained me." And Pat Patterson looked at me like, "I know." And we started talking for a while, and and I'm like, "Brian, I don't want to bother you or nothing." And he goes, "No, don't worry." It was Monday night. You know, they were doing a Raw thing. He goes, No. So we talked for a little while. And he was telling me about his deal with, you know, he was going to get married and stuff, and. Brian Kendrick, I message him and call him every now and then. You know, he has his school, and him and Paul are always out of the country. Some of the students that I had in Sean's wrestling school are my Facebook friends, and one kid, Tony Zamora, sells houses now, so it's a long way from running laps around a ring, and he's doing very well. There's another guy, Dwayne, who lives out in Alabama. He's in a rock and roll band. I still keep in contact with a lot of the guys.
Listening to the interview, and I hadn't chimed in or jumped in because this is just so wonderful for me to listen, so informative and very enlightening. Listening to you talk about, the guys that you've trained and you keep in contact with them, I get the feeling that it's like a proud papa looking over, how well your kids have done.
Well, I mean, you could say that. I mean, when you see a guy walk into wrestling school for the first time, whether it's Brian Danielson or it's Ruben Cruz or Lawrence Cunningham or whoever, they're wide-eyed, fresh-faced. They have no clue what's going to happen to them. There's a lot of throwing up the first day. Some of it's from being out of shape. Some of it's from nerves. Everybody wants to do well the first day of wrestling school. And then as the weeks go by, you see them progressing physically. Everybody's scared to hurt the other guy. Everybody has the mentality that this is fake, so we can't hit the guy too hard. And here I am, or whoever. Lay it in. There's a lot of the guys pay a lot of money, but there's still like a little bit of mistrust that they may have towards me because they don't really, nobody really knows me. But then when I've crossed over or they've crossed over, when you get a call in the middle of the night, hey, do you have time to talk? Sure, what's up? Oh man, whatever. I don't know if I can do this. I've never told a guy you can't do this. That's not me. That's not for me to. That's not a guy named Ken Taylor told Brian Kendrick he was too small to be in the wrestling business after he took his money, and Brian went on for 9 years in WWE. For being too small, he actually did pretty good for himself. That's not me though. I'm not the guy to. I'm the guy that's going to encourage you. You gotta, even though sometimes you may see some remarks I might make on social media. I'm trying to motivate a guy. Manny Fernandez and those guys weren't sweethearts to me either. And it made me thicker skinned. It made me mentally stronger. Guys today aren't built that way though. So, I always like to see when guys succeed, and it hurts me when I see a guy say I can't do this, and because somewhere in there they've realized it themselves. I can say, you know what, David, you're out of shape, you suck, you're never gonna make it. But inside, he still believes, I can do this. Just like a lot of older guys, and I'll throw my name in the hat. A lot of older guys know they don't have a shot in WWE anymore. Why are they still around? Because somewhere in the back of your head, somewhere inside you, there's still that glimmer of, maybe they might call me, maybe. Same thing with these guys. They're kids though. They know, so and so may know he's out of shape, but maybe if he works a little bit harder, maybe if he diets a little bit, maybe if he, and then somewhere, he just realizes, what, this ain't for me, and I can appreciate that. So and then when the kids come down here to train, whether it was at Sean's school or my school, a lot of them were 18 years old, and I remember when I got into the wrestling business when I was 18, because I didn't know nothing, but luckily I lived here in San Antonio, and my family was here, but a lot of these guys are from New Mexico or from England or from Hawaii or so they made the sacrifice, and the decision to move all their stuff down here, 18, 19 years old. I get a call every now and then from somebody's mom. How's my son doing? Oh, he's doing great. He says he hasn't washed his clothes in 3 weeks. And, I can tell. Yeah, probably hasn't. and that's fine. If you're but I tell them, somewhere along the way you're going to have to cut those apron strings. There's guys that are wrestling now for years, and I'm not going to mention any names like Barrett Brown or Ashton Jacobs that travel with their mom and dad. And there's nothing wrong with that. But somewhere they're going to have to cut those apron strings. And those two are good kids also. But I try and treat the guys that come down here, like my kids, like my sons or whatever. If my son Steve were to decide to get into, wrestling school, and he went to California, and that's what he wanted to do, that's his dream, by all means, I'll do whatever I can to help him. I'm not going to move to California with him, but I'm going to keep in contact, and I'm going to hope that the guy that he's training with will take care of him and not treat him like a shithead or something,
This is. I mean, from what I'm getting is not only the physical training and the mental aspect of it, but you also instill self-esteem and respect, which that's always two big factors in this business.
Like I said, I mean, I'm not. It's hard for me. One, it's hard for me to say you got to be in great shape, kid. You got to look like Dave Bautista. I don't look like Dave Bautista. And I've never looked like Dave Bautista. But I've been in the wrestling business for 30 years. How? Because I've just worked hard. I figured out how to do this stuff, and I did it well, long enough to get employed with Joe Blanchard at a time when it was very difficult to just, you couldn't just, like now, you can't just, step into a ring and, hey, I'm a wrestler now. I survived through the independents, through the global wrestling and USA wrestling and all-star wrestlings and all those, I went to Mexico for 3 years. So, I mean, if I can do this for such a long period of time, a lot of it is just mentally tough. Just, if this is what you, and I tell the guys all the time, if this is what you want to do, if this is what you really want to do, I'll do whatever I can to get you there. If you want it, I want it. The minute you don't, or the minute you act like you don't want it, I don't want it either then. I'm not going to push a guy. So, some guys, they never played sports, and that's what I was going to mention earlier was some guys never played sports because, they never played football because they weren't fast enough or they weren't strong enough or, they couldn't remember plays or, they didn't play basketball because they couldn't jump or shoot. They didn't play baseball. I didn't play baseball because I couldn't hit the ball. I played a year, and I think I got one hit the whole year. So I sucked at it. But this isn't baseball. This isn't football. It's not basketball. You don't have to run 40 yards. You just got to be able to perform. You don't got to be able. You really don't have to be able to beat up a guy that's twice your size. You just have to look like you're beating him up. And I don't want to cross that line. Some people think that Sylvester Stallone's one of the toughest guys in the world. He's only 5'7", 5'6". But he beat Apollo Creed, but he beat, Clubber Lang, but he beat Hulk Hogan, but he beat the Russian guy, but he's Rocky, he was Rambo, he's an actor, but people think that he's a tough dude. It's all in the way you present yourself, and if guys can understand that part, again, not everybody can do this, but, I mean, it's really not that difficult. You just got to want it. That's all.
Now, looking back, would you have changed anything in your career? Because, like you said in the beginning of this, you didn't necessarily want to be in professional wrestling. You had no aspirations to be in it. You wanted to be a football coach. If looking back, would you have changed a single thing?
If I said I want to change anything, that means that there's something that I regret. I don't regret anything. I'm happy with my career. You can ask, well, did you wish that you had worked for WWE? I did. I mean, what are you really? Do I really think that I could have main evented WrestleMania 3 or something? No, not at all. But I did work for WWE. I was an enhancement guy, and I'm proud of that. some guys, will tell me now, you were a jobber. Well, maybe I was a jobber, but I made more money doing a job in one night than a lot of guys are making main eventing the VFWs all year long. So, I got to meet some great people. I traveled. This has been like a 30-year vacation. I only had a real job when I really needed a real job. It's taken care of me. I've like I said, I've met some great people, and that includes the Daniel Bryans, that includes the Joe Blanchards, the Red Bastines, the Wahoo McDaniels, Dusty Wolfs, Dorothy Brown. She was one of the owners of Southwest Wrestling. Fritz and his wife. I've met some great people. Even some of the buildings. The concession stand people. I don't regret anything I've done. Not one minute.
And that's one thing that really fascinates me about professional wrestling is that professional wrestling is like a tree, and then there's different branches that they go onto this one tree that are, so many different options you can do in this one thing.
You got to be honest with yourself. I'm 5'8", and like I said earlier, I've never been the bodybuilder type guy, so I knew when I came in that there might be an issue with me. With me main eventing shows and stuff like that. But the wrestling business is full of guys of different shapes and sizes. My family, I wasn't a Guerrero, I wasn't a Funk, I wasn't a Rhodes or a Blanchard. I was just Rudy Gonzalez. And Joe always told me, I don't remember how we got into it, but we got into this conversation. And Joe told me, as long as you know how to work, you'll always have work. As long as you understand what your position is, and what what was the word he used? Whatever I knew, as long as you understand what your position is, you'll always do well. In other words, I understand that I'll never be the main event guy for whoever. Let's say for Global. Why am I gonna go and hassle the promoters and bookers? Man, I need to be in the main event with John Tatum. Man, that main event I could have done a lot better. No, we have guys for that. Your job is the mid-card guy, or your job was the curtain jerk guy. And as long as you understand why you're in that role, you're fine. There's a lot. The worst guy, the worst wrestler that can be out there is the guy that thinks he's better than what he really is, and he's always fighting with everybody. And Randy Orton sucks, man. Why does he suck? Because he can't work. Well, why don't you call Vince? And I'm not going to call Vince, man. Well, why not? You think you're better than Randy Orton? Why aren't you on the roster? I would, but I got better things to do. Then why don't you just shut up? You just got to know what your role is. That's not a catchphrase. That's true life. You got to know what your role is in this business.
All right, we're being joined right now by the man behind the IHWE brand, so I better bring him on real quick. David, how you doing tonight, man?
I'm doing all right. I hear you got you got quite the guest on, Rudy Boy Gonzalez. Started with Southwest Championship Wrestling with Joe Blanchard. He's worked for everybody. He is hands down the best trainer in the state of Texas. And I've said it since day one, and I'll keep saying it. And I've had the pleasure of working with Rudy a handful of times. And hey, I can sit here all day and blow smoke, but just look at his body of work. He's every time they do a documentary on Daniel Bryan, he's there. He's it's not like Rudy Boy says, "Oh, I did this," and there's no proof. Like a lot of guys, he's there. He's in the pictures. He's talked about. So. Hats off to you, sir, and I appreciate you coming on tonight.
Thank you, David.
Well, tonight we got a brand new episode of IHWE TV. I just want to plug it real quick. We're about to go on at 10 o'clock. I want y'all to get back to this conversation with Rudy Boy. Tonight on IHWE TV is the two guys that Rudy Boy knows real well. tonight is the saga of Franco D'Angelo and Mike Fox. Franco D'Angelo was in a car accident a couple years ago. It nearly killed him. He should be. I mean, it should have. I mean, I'm not saying I wanted Franco to be under the dirt, but in all actuality, a normal human being, it would have. But he worked tirelessly, and he put himself through a hell of a rehab, worked very hard, went through a number of other injuries during the rehabilitation, and finally was coming back to an IHWE ring. There's a train going by somewhere. Okay. There's a train going by. It's Ice Train, M.I. Smooth. But Franco D'Angelo returned to an IHWE ring. He's no longer the IHWE champion. He was hacked off about it. And he came to make an announcement. And you're going to see that announcement. But main event Mike Fox was involved too. And maybe some of you will be surprised. Maybe some of you won't. But those two guys are going to be in the mix tonight on IHWE TV, and you're going to follow that saga. Next week, Spoiler 2000 goes one-on-one with Tim Storm. It's a match of two of the best guys in the state. Great background. And then Johnny Gargano makes his Texas wrestling debut, Dragon Gate USA. He's been all over the place against Thomas Shire, the winner of the Terry Gordy Memorial. He was trained by Dory Funk Jr. So we've got a great couple of weeks of IHWE TV. Of course, we got great shows coming up. This show is kicking butt. Michael, Austin, Brian, Joe. You're lining up some of the best guys in the wrestling business, and it doesn't get much better than the guy you got on the line right now. So, folks, if you're listening, this is a great interview, and if you're looking to become a professional wrestler and you're near Rudy Boy Gonzalez and the Texas Wrestling Academy, go there, because he ain't always going to tell you what you want to hear. He hasn't always told me what I wanted to hear. He's never done it with anybody. He tells you the absolute truth, and sometimes you want to hear it. All the time you need to hear it. So take his advice, listen to him, because all you got to do is look at the names that he's had a hand in. And Rudy Boy doesn't tell you he's done all this stuff on his own. He's had a hand in all this, and he has. Probably more than a hand. Probably a hand, another hand, and a couple of feet involved in all of this talent. The Lance Cade, the Masadas, the Daniel Bryan, the Brian Kendrick. He continues to this day with Jacob Kilgore, Juan Ramirez, two of the best in the state of Texas. Moonshine Mantell, who just returned from a very successful tour of Japan. And he didn't go over there. He didn't go over there asking for money on a Kickstarter. He went over there because he earned the opportunity to go over there, because a guy like Rudy Boy brought him into this business. So, but Rudy, I'm going to let y'all get back to your interview. I just want to talk about the show. Comes on at 10 o'clock Central on IHWEnow.com. Check it out. Enjoy the interview. Rudy, I will see you down the road, sir. I'm certainly that I will, and I look forward to it.
Thank you, David.
All right, take care, guys.
David, real quick. You still there? Hello? We lost him. I wanted to get his opinion on September 19th, but we'll talk about that one later. Anyways, Rudy, thank you for joining us tonight. We are coming to a close on this interview. Is there anything you'd like to say to fans, the listeners, and how they can find you on social media?
Just the phone number, the website that I gave you. I'm on Facebook. Rudy Boy. There's two Facebooks for Rudy Boy Gonzalez. One I just use for fans only. I'm an old school guy, so the other Facebook is I'll if you're one of the boys, if you're a promoter, referee, whatever, and you want advice or just whatever you do on Facebook, that's there's another one that I use for that, and that's where we'll talk business on the Facebook fan page. I don't or the fan page, Facebook, whatever. I don't really talk too much business. I try and protect it as much as I can. But yeah, that's about it. Let me just throw something out there real quick. Franco, remember I was talking about, guys that want it, I want it, and if you don't want it, I don't want it. I have nothing to do with Franco's training, but he's just one of those guys that for the last, year and a half, 2 years, bad luck has just been on him. And, he's had accidents and whatever, and had some health problems, whatever. So a while back he was, and to reiterate whatever, he had a deal where he was trying to raise some money for something, and I threw a couple of bucks that way, out of my own personal money, because the guy, the things that he's gone through, anybody, I know a lot of people would have said, you know what, screw it, I ain't, this isn't meant for me. I've already had 2 wrecks of infection. I'm done with this, and given up. Franco's a fighter, dude. That guy is beast isn't even the word for it. So whatever you see Franco at, whatever shows or anything out there in Texas or anywhere, go up to him, shake his hand. I'm glad. Let him know that you're glad to see him, because he's one of those guys that should not be around with us right now. Let him know you're glad to see him. He's a good guy. Moonshine Mantell's the same way, a good kid. I love him to death. That's about it that I have, really.
All right, well, Rudy, we thank you for joining us, and hopefully somewhere down the line we can have you on again as a guest, and we have enjoyed having you tonight.
Yes, thank you very much, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you.
Austin, I got to give you some props, man. I will say I did not know a lot about the career and times of Rudy Boy there, but that was a great interview. So I'm looking forward to see what you got coming up with us for next month.
Oh, my God. So many. I don't know if we're going to announce anything. I'm not going to say anything, but there's a lot of stuff coming up.
That interview, you hit that one out of the park. That was good. Very, very good stuff.
Yeah, it was great to get his insight on World Class and Gino and getting to realize SCW. Yeah, major kudos.
Yeah, I definitely want to have Rudy Boy on again sometime, get more of, because definitely he has an insight into this business. And, yes, we do have a lot of stuff coming up. Since you tuned in a little bit late there, Austin, I went through a 5-minute listing of everything that's coming up between now and November 12th. So it's out there. You and I, we're going to get it up on the IHWE Radio fan page so the listeners know what's going on, who's on when and all that. But we have September 24th open for you, man. So you brought us Rudy Boy this month. Let's see what you can do for us next month, man.
Definitely.
And on that note, yes?
One more thing really quick.
Okay.
Kyle O'Reilly, I cannot explain. I'm just going to say this because I want people to know how good a wrestler he is. You can check him out if nobody knows, if nobody's ever had the opportunity to watch Kyle. You can actually check him out on this week's episode of Ring of Honor in the main event against Michael Elgin for the World Heavyweight Championship. See what he has to offer, because he's definitely going to put on a show September 28th for IHWE.
Yes, Kyle O'Reilly will be at the Old School Hustle at the Sedera Center. He will be wrestling, I believe it is Matt Fidget. The match was announced a few weeks ago. So I'm looking forward to it. I have not had a chance to see him work. But on that note, we got a few little items of business here that I have to throw in real quick. As David told you earlier, at the top of the hour at 10 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. here on the West Coast, California, 9 p.m. Mountain, and 11 p.m. Eastern, you can watch this week's episode of IHWE TV and learn more about the saga between Mike Fox and Franco D'Angelo. Once again, I did not see a preview of this episode, so I'm looking forward to it, as I look forward to every episode of IHWE TV. Also, you can find IHWE Radio coming soon on iTunes and Stitcher. 2 more ways to listen to the show that I hope everybody wants to hear every Wednesday night. So if you don't have a chance to listen to us live, there's going to be more options for you to download the show, listen to it on your iPhone, your iPad, however you can listen to Stitcher. Not too much unsure on that one, but we are definitely getting out there. Next week, Pipe Bomb Radio. Austin, you and Felix are welcoming James Beard, and I believe this is the 100th episode of Pipe Bomb Radio, if I am correct.
Yes, 100 episodes, and James Beard's going to be on with us, and definitely familiar with IHWE. I believe he's the what is the official title for James Beard in IHWE?
I don't know the official title of James Beard. James Beard is part of the IHWE, and there he is part of the committee for the IHWE Southern Wrestling Hall of Fame, and he will be, as everybody is, at Old School Hustle on September 28th. He also is a major part of the NWA.
Definitely. The book he came out with, I believe it's called The Second Man. Correct me if I'm wrong. I believe that's what it's called.
The Third Man.
Which is available. Yeah, the third
Gregory
man.
is the third man.
Yeah, the third man. So, so he has an amazing book out. Besides him, on the 100 episode, there's going to be so many, surprises it's going to be on. I cannot even exclaim how cool it's going to be next Tuesday night.
All right, and next week here on IHWE Radio, as I said earlier, we will have Ivan Koloff. He is going to talk about his career in the ring, as well as the documentary from Elbow Productions. They just started a Kickstarter campaign to fund that. We will be discussing that. Hopefully Michael Elliott will be joining us as part of that interview. We'll also be joined by Roxy, one of the gorgeous ladies of wrestling. She will be on for a few minutes to talk about their Kickstarter campaign for the Afterglow Party that is currently running. They're on their last few days, and things are going well, but she's here to talk about that. Well, she'll be joining us next week. Also, there's another Kickstarter campaign that just got started, and being that IHWE is based in the great state of Texas, I think it's something worth mentioning. There's a Kickstarter campaign for the book Kamala Speaks, the autobiography of James Harris, the man we all know as Kamala, the Ugandan giant. Now, as a kid, Kamala scared the hell out of me. So I'm looking forward to reading a book from the man to learn more about his career, because I was scared of Kamala. Like I said, as a kid, he scared me. The guy was a little crazy with the makeup and all that, and I thought he really was a Ugandan giant. So definitely did his well, but that is another Kickstarter campaign that is up and running, and looking forward to seeing how that works out. And hopefully we will have Kamala on as a guest sometime in the future. I know Austin has the invite out there. We're just waiting to see, get some confirmation. But our show tonight is coming to a close, and as always, I'm going to let my IHWE Radio team let everyone know how they can find them on social media. Grandpappy 6 times 6
Grandpappy 6.
How can they find you on social media?
Well, they can find me. Just go to Facebook, Joe Sousa. That's JoeSousa. You'll find the bald guy with his kids, or you'll find me in the tuxedo. And quick plug, like this coming Sunday, Ferndale, California, Humboldt County Fair, 5 o'clock bell time. Lucha Libre will be there. Yours truly, I will be the guest ring announcer. Mike, you'll be there with me, and it's going to be a whole lot of fun.
Austin, how can they find you, buddy?
You guys can find me on both Instagram and Twitter by going to @the_Austin James on both Instagram and Twitter, along with Facebook. You can find me under Austin Porsche, not like the car. It's actually spelled Porcha, and I'll be your friend if you don't have any. Trust me.
And Brian.
You can find me on Facebook, Brian, BRIN Westcott, WESTCOTT. Also have my own wrestling website at www.brianrich.net/wrestle, and you can check out Westcott's Wrestling Archives. You can find out title histories on all your wrestlers, the past, present, and future.
And you can find me on Facebook at facebook.com/Encyclopedia World Class. You can also find me on Twitter at MichaelMC1972. My followers are definitely getting bigger on that. I'm getting a lot of requests, so Twitter seems to be the best way to find me at this point in time. But as always, every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Central, 6 p.m. Pacific, you can find all four of us here on IHWE Radio doing what we do best, talking wrestling and entertaining you. Thank you for joining us tonight, and we will hear from you next week. Goodbye, everybody.
Good night. Good night.